Welcome to Golden Blue Dude, everybody, home of the college football fan. And don't forget, you can send gear to represent your team for the background of Golden Blue Dude forever. Just send gear to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina 29657. Let's get to the next video. This will indeed be another Get It Gang video. If you're not familiar with what the Get It Gang is, it's basically a name that I came up for the group of people that leave video ideas in the comments section of my videos. So if you think you have a good video idea for one of my videos, leave it in the comments section and I just might use it in my next video. Today's Get It Gang member video idea is from John Adams. I really like this. Here's what he had to say. Amazing how 2024 is the year now. 12-team playoff, OU and Texas going to the SEC, UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten. Could the grant of rights in the ACC be next? Good question. Who are the 8 teams? Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, NC State, Virginia, Miami, Florida, Pittsburgh, and Louisville are my choices. But it could be Notre Dame as one of the 8. Yes, it could be Notre Dame. They do have a nuke vote. So let's look at 2024. First up, the 12-team playoff. I'm excited for that. Top 6 conference champs get an auto bid. In other words, if you're a conference champion and you're one of the top 6, you're getting into the playoffs. Top 4 conference champs get a bye week. If you're one of the top 4 conference champs, you don't have to play in the first round. And seeds 5, 6, 7, and 8 get a first round home playoff game. That's right, college football will have its first home playoff game starting in 2024. I'm very excited about that. I'm interested to see who those teams will be as far as hosting the first playoff games. And who will be the first team, whether it's the 5 seed, 6 seed, 7 seed, or 8 seed. Who will host the first one before the others? The next thing, of course, the SEC going to 16 members. They are adding Oklahoma and Texas. I think the SEC will occupy at least 2 spots on a consistent basis in the playoffs. Maybe even 3 or 4. Same for the Big Ten. They go to 16 members, adding USC and UCLA. I think the Big Ten could also occupy 2 spots consistently, but not as big of a chance of grabbing 3 and 4 spots like the SEC. Yes, I do think the SEC will dominate as far as how many teams make the playoffs. Now it's time for the rumors. This is why you really came to Golden Blue. The rumors. And this all circles around 2024. The first question is, will the Pac-12 even exist in 2024? Well, the first thing I'm hearing is Arizona and Arizona State not happy with negotiations between ESPN and the Pac-12. It seems like ESPN did, in fact, have a TV deal offered for the Pac-12, but they have pulled it because Disney is making cuts. That's not good for the Pac-12 because even if ESPN does come back and offer again, that amount will be lower, possibly significantly lower. And what about the rumor that Florida State is leading talks between the ACC and Oregon, Washington, Cal, and Stanford to join? Also, with Arizona and Arizona State, the Four Corners, or as I like to call them, 3/4 of the Four Corners, joining the Big 12. Could it be 2024? Could we see some major big changes, more major big changes coming in 2024? We already have the playoff expansion. We already have Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC. We already have USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten. And don't forget the ACC going without divisions in 2023. That's happening next year. But in 2024, there's other things that could be happening. What I'm hearing, 8 teams in the ACC ready to vote to dissolve the grant of rights, and that means the teams can go wherever they want. Does this happen before 2024, or does it even happen at all? Remember, it might not even happen. Teams might not be voting to dissolve the grant of rights, or the teams that are willing might change their mind. But if so, if those 8 teams do exist, who are the 8 teams, and where do all the teams go? I kind of agree with the list that John Adams came up, but I think it's Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, NC State, Duke, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, and Notre Dame. Maybe even the Miami Hurricanes. I don't think Louisville is going to vote to dissolve, and I don't think that Pitt's going to vote to dissolve because their only option would be the Big 12. I don't think the SEC would pick up Louisville. I don't think the Big 10 would pick up Louisville. I don't think the SEC would pick up Pitt, and I don't think the Big 10 would pick up Pitt. Not sure how favorable the Big 12 as far as an option would be for Pitt and Louisville. But in 2024, here's what the conferences could look like. In this particular scenario, the ACC is done. They are dissolved. But some big-time changes in the other 4 remaining power conferences. So, in 2024, this is what the SEC could look like. Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, Kentucky, Florida, and yes, this is in post-editing because I forgot to say Florida in the first take because Florida was so bad as a team last year, I forgot Florida even existed. Vanderbilt, Clemson, Miami Hurricanes, Virginia, and NC State. So those are the 4 teams of the ACC. Clemson, Miami Hurricanes, Virginia, and NC State that I have the SEC picking up. LSU, Alabama, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Auburn, Texas A&M, Missouri, and of course Oklahoma and Texas. Next up, the Big Ten. This is what the Big Ten could look like in 2024. Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Maryland, Rutgers, North Carolina, Duke, Georgia Tech, and Florida State. Florida State is the key. They're looking for AAU status. They don't really like the SEC. Florida State could be headed to the Big Ten. Michigan State, Indiana, Purdue, Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Northwestern, and of course, USC and UCLA. Up next, the Big 12. It actually looks like a really good conference. This would be a great scenario for the Big 12. West Virginia, Cincinnati, Pitt, Syracuse, Louisville, and Virginia Tech. Those are the 4 teams out of the ACC. UCF, Houston, TCU, Baylor, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Iowa State, and then Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah out of the Pac-12. So the Pac-12 is losing more members in this particular scenario. But I do have the Pac-12 surviving. So here's what the Pac-12 could look like in 2024. Oregon State, Washington State, Cal, Stanford, San Diego State, SMU. We already know that the Pac-12 is interested in San Diego State and SMU. They probably will add those 2 teams. But beyond that, Fresno State, I think that's a no-brainer. Fresno State has a great football brand, and it would help recover some more of that California market. Boise State, listen, Boise State needs to be picked up. And I know that the Pac-12 looks down on Boise State because of their academics, but Boise State is a great brand. Their fan base is loyal. They pack that stadium out game after game after game. They probably have better attendance than I'd say like 90% of the Pac-12. It would definitely help boost your attendance rankings in the power conferences. But beyond that, now you're looking at academics. Rice, Tulane, and then the leftovers out of the ACC. Boston College and Wake Forest. So yeah, technically, the Pac-12 becomes a coast-to-coast conference in this scenario. And it's not as big of a stretch as you think. Because going out and getting Rice, SMU, those 2 are in the state of Texas, and Tulane, which is in the state of Louisiana, stretches the Pac-12 a little more east. So adding Boston College and Wake Forest isn't that big of a deal. I mean, it's still a stretch, but it's not as big of a stretch as, let's say, like Utah or Arizona State, Colorado, and then Boston College and Wake Forest. I think this would make way more sense for the Pac-12, and you still get to exist. I think the Pac-12 is in danger of collapsing because the TV deal from ESPN was pulled. Doesn't mean it's over. Doesn't mean it's a done deal. It just means the Pac-12 is in a bad situation. They are looking to expand, and they are looking at San Diego State and SMU. I look for the announcements of adding those 2 teams within the next 2 weeks to maybe a month, something like that. But I do think the Pac-12 needs to look beyond that to prepare in case they lose more members. This is what I've been preaching to the Pac-12 and the ACC. Prepare to lose members because I do think it will happen. But if you're prepared, then it's not going to hurt you as much. See, the problem with these conferences is ego. They don't think they're going to lose these members. The Pac-12 didn't think that they're going to lose USC and UCLA to the Big Ten. But guess what? It happened. And now they're caught with the pants down, looking for San Diego State and SMU to replace the LA market. That's no. That's not a good replacement at all. If you would have had a plan, maybe you'd have better options. That's just my opinion. So y'all let me know in the comments section, do you think 2024 could be even more important than what we think it is now? We already know playoff expansion. We already know Oklahoma and Texas are going to the SEC. We already know that USC and UCLA are going to the Big Ten. But is it even more important? Does the ACC even exist in 2024? Is the Pac-12 in danger? Do they lose some more teams before 2024? A lot of questions, and the year to circle is 2024. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.